All right, everybody, this will be a warning to all politicians and running for president 2024. Part, call it 153, I believe. Somewhere in there. Anyhow, this is just a quick one that most people don't know. What's been going on as far as the isolation and shutdown and the constant bombardment through news media, social media, things like that of false information and everything is classic brainwashing technique. Isolate people and then just drum things into their heads over and over and over and over again. Look at North Korea, the Soviet Union, all the communist bloc countries. You look at Hitler's Germany, the suppression and control of information was paramount, and also isolating the people especially under stressful conditions is what they did in re-education camps. You understand that? Now, whether a lot of these yahoos on the left understand what they're doing, if it's even occurred to them, maybe a lot of them are just being used as pawns. And then again, since so many of them are pro-socialist and everything like that, and have ties to China and other places, maybe they've orchestrated a lot of this on purpose. They definitely, most definitely, have encouraged violence and supported the riots and everything all year. They've supported attacks on Trump supporters since before the 2016 election, and they haven't let up the whole time. They're responsible for a lot of division of violence going on in the country, and they know it. So they're never going to admit it. They're going to cover everything up as best they can because what they've done is criminal. It's just, if you can't, I mean, I seen an ad today, tonight, that they're going to do special news program and meet the Biden family and the grandkids and everything else. Oh, isn't that it? Did they ever do that? Welcome Trump as president and all this? No. It's the same thing. They got to tell a fairy tale story for their candidate. They did the same with Obama. Now they're going to do it with Biden. But anybody they don't like, they're just going to do everything they can to put out false stories, etc. I'm not saying that news media on the right isn't guilty of the same thing, but if you can't tell coming from the left, it has been far, far more of I don't know what the words are, an onslaught of an orchestrated effort to be the propaganda arm of the Democratic Party. So you basically have state-run news media. You know, just like in North Korea, you're never going to see a bad story about, you know, little Kim over there. You understand? In the Soviet Union, you weren't allowed to post any opposition. And that's what they're trying to do now through social media. No opposition. No free speech. If you can't see that happening in this country, you know, if you're a Democrat, you know, you got to look at it in a logical and intelligent way. Aside from your party affiliation, you got to look at it as a human being, whether you're on the left or the right. This is full-blown onslaught, no different than what's happened in the Soviet Union. Ask people who came from those countries what happened, in Cuba, anywhere. Total shutdown, no opposition, no free speech. And the whole time, they decry violence and anything that comes from the right and all this. And hey, there shouldn't be violence. But the whole time they're decrying that from the right, and it's questionable if it even came from the right because there were Antifa people there. They turn a blind eye to what they've supported all year long. It's that smugness and the refusal to even answer any questions about what they've done all year long. It's just, it's too. They've been trained, is all I can say, is they've been trained. They've been trained on how to not get involved in conversations that might lead to truth and deflect everything. Just not answer. It's if there isn't a foreign government involved and helping them with this giant ass psyops, then they've hired consultants and stuff who used to work for foreign governments, or maybe even people from our government. But it's just amazing to me that people are so divided in their camps they can't step back and say, this is some bullshit what the news media is doing. This is absolutely some bullshit. There's somebody pulling strings. Yeah, a lot of them could just be dummies caught up in the middle of it. But there's a lot of these talking heads on TV who are lockstep and reading the same scripts and pushing the same narrative And they act like, like they're Teflon, like they're not responsible for anything. And they think they're so far above everything, everybody, and the law and everything. They won't even respond truthfully about their complicitness in a lot of things. It's absolutely amazing. If you watch Joe Biden when he was asked questions that he didn't like and stuff about his son and stuff by reporters about involvement in Ukraine and everything while he was vice president, how he points his finger and he yells and then he won't. I'm not going to answer that. You can tell what kind of presidency this is going to be. You can tell. And the way he threatens people and stuff. You can tell what kind of presidency this is going to be. The other question I had is, if China's responsible, if it was just a natural thing, a flu and all that got out, shit like that happens. But if they developed this shit in a lab, and it got out, and then they tried to cover it up and stuff and weren't truthful about it, do all the people who have had somebody who died from it get to sue China? Is there legal precedence for people to sue for damages for losing a loved one because of the negligence of China? And that they developed this shit in a lab? Maybe that's some of the deals the Biden administration made with China. Look, we'll make it so, nobody can sue you, do economic harm to your nation and all this. You just support the Biden administration. I wouldn't doubt it. That son of a bitch is dirty as can be. He's as dirty as can be. If you can't tell by his mannerisms and the way he acts, he's as dirty as he can be. And all his talk of healing and shit like that. While Democratic strategists and supporters and everything talk about making lists of Trump supporters. And going after them for speech. But you can look through all the shit that came out from the left media all year long, where they supported the violence, the riots, the arson, supported BLM, who openly called for the killing of police officers. But if you watch the news now, they're trying to say Trump is guilty of supporting the attacks and is responsible for the deaths at the Capitol. He never supported or told anybody to do anything like that. But these people, the mayors in these cities and everything, allowing BLM to paint their shit all over the place. BLM will openly call for the killing of police officers. They allowed Antifa to do all their shit, who openly called for the killing of police officers and attacked federal buildings. Now, either everybody on the left news media is so fucking stupid and oblivious to what they've done and supported, Or like I say, it's an orchestrated attack on this nation. And it's lockstep in with re-education, communist, socialist belief. It's just absolutely amazing how blind, either they're blind to their own actions, which I sincerely doubt, or they know exactly what they're doing. They know they're guilty of supporting all that shit. They know they are guilty of inspiring and encouraging, supporting these groups that wreaked havoc on this country for a year. And it ain't over. You bet they're planning more shit. They're just waiting. They are just waiting until Biden is comfortably in office and stuff, and the shit's gonna start all over again. You know, you had Kamala Harris saying they should go on after the election. You had her and Biden donating to bail these people out. So you want to tell me it's not an orchestrated thing? The people in the left news media cannot be so blind to their own actions as to what they supported that they're so oblivious to it that when they're asked about it or questioned about it, they immediately go into damage control and deflection and acting like they're Teflon, and won't even, and you know, hey, it's control the narrative. Don't even talk to anyone who might ask those kinds of questions. No opposition, wag the dog. I'm telling you, these are communist, socialist strategists. Isolate the people. Control the narrative. Pound it into them over and over again. And any opposition, you know, lock that down. No free speech. You don't get to question. You don't get to point out what they've done wrong. Now, either there's some foreign governments who've been helping them do this shit that they've sided with, or they've taken training from professionals maybe, hey, a lot of them voting machines were from some of them professionals from Central and South America. They've had help. Because you look at a lot of them talking heads, they ain't that bright on their own to figure it out, how to join together and how to do all this shit on their own. They've been trained and have people telling them, writing their scripts. And it's coming through, you know, the Democratic election people, the Biden crew, and probably essentially, the Clinton crew, etc., or an intelligence agency who knows the tactics and knows the strategies and knows what to do because they've done it in other countries and now they're doing it here. And either way, this isn't all done by happenstance. The evidence is just too much. What you see with your own eyes and the way things are going, if you step back from it and you look at it from afar, you can clearly see it. But if you're caught up in it all and everything, and you're not paying attention, they've got you. If you're just running around spewing all the shit they're doing and not saying, well, wait a minute, you're condemning people on the right for X, Y, Z or whatever, but look what you've done all summer. I mean, you're not thinking independently. You're not thinking for yourself. Isolation, suppression of information, and repeated bombardment of propaganda and political ideological messages. It's straight out of the brainwashing manuals of the Nazis and the communists. Straight out of them. They're not allowing free discourse. And this goes back, used to have talk shows, news talk shows, especially on Sundays, where you had, like point counterpoint. You had a person there, like a moderator, and then you had people from both sides explain and debate the issues. You don't have that anymore. There used to be like an equal time thing in the law or in the rules for broadcasting, that both sides could present their case or their story on the same program. You see, when they don't have that on the same program, if you follow whatever the narrative is from the left, you're just going to watch all the left TV shows or listen to a radio broadcast or look at their stuff online. You're not going to get a chance to hear what the other side has to say. You're going to be told what the other side stands for by the leftist media heads. You're going to be told what people on the right believe. But you're never going to look at information on the other side. And vice versa is what's happened in this country. They no longer have both sides on. Who knows? Maybe they need both sides and then somebody who's totally independent. Maybe that should be a rule in the news media. Hey, you gotta present an even balanced deal here. You gotta have a discussion. You just can't push a narrative. It's all one-sided, like you're selling your product and that's it. Because the news is supposed to be independent and be able to tell the truth. It's not supposed to be aligned with political parties. When you align media with political parties, you get what happened in the Soviet Union and the Nazis and everywhere else around the world. You get state-run media. You are not supposed to be state-run media. Whether you're on the left or the right, you are not supposed to be state-run media. You were supposed to be independent and show all the views and have a discussion. Because if you don't do that, you're suppressing truth, you're suppressing freedom of speech, and you're nothing but a propagandist machine. Say no to state-run media, America, no matter what side you're on. Say no to state-run media. Say no to false media on YouTube and all this social media shit and everything. Even PBS. It's all one narrative. Just one narrative. No discussion. No debate. No one takes responsibility for anything that they've done. Turn a blind eye to violence when it's coming from your people, but attack if it's coming from the other party. And it's not even clear that it came from the other party, because there were Antifa there at the Capitol. Say no to state-run media, America. No matter what side you're on, demand freedom of thought, freedom of speech, and the truth. And demand that the news media is not being run by political parties or corporations who side with, and you're a bunch of dummies, Antifa. You say you're against fascism and all this and everything. And you attack right-wing people when the fascist party is the Democratic Party that's aligned the news media and the corporations and everything. You call everybody Nazis and you're against the fascism and the Nazi fascism and all this and everything. You're fighting for them. I don't endorse anything Antifa does anyway, or you're a bunch of punks on dope out there with weapons and shit like that. Why you've been allowed to do the things you've done so far is absolutely, there's higher ups that have just taken advantage of your mentality and your ignorance and your lack of direction in life, and they said, here, go out here and do this shit, and you all did it like a bunch of dummies. But all these companies and the parent companies and this and that own and run the media, it's corporate run. Those corporations are shutting down free speech and taking the side of one political party. That's fascism. Not free trade, not free markets, but when the corporations line themselves up and direct the news companies that they own to push one political narrative, that's fascism. That's Nazism. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. You understand that? There was no free media in Nazi Germany. It was aligned with the state, with the political. The news media is supposed to be free and independent and show the truth and investigate for real, not just push a political narrative and repeat some bullshit, some copy that's handed to them. I wish you all the best out there. Wake up, America. God bless.